Alright, welcome back to the channel, guys. Today we're going to be going through the legendary tier. We're going to start ranking them. I kind of didn't want to make this video, but there's been a couple people ask me, and I think we're finally getting to a place where we have at least a decent starting number of ships to actually start kind of like comparing them and how they do, I guess, overall. And with some recent buffs and some slight nerfs across the board, I think for the most part, I saw Aaron, one of the other CCs, make a comment, or maybe it was the title of a video for his, but it was like legendary tier is starting to heat up. And I think so. I think we're getting there. Obviously, I still think the bureau process is too slow and the release of new legendaries. But without further ado, this is Legends, World of Warships Legends on the console version. This is not PC. For the most part, most of these legendary tier ships are PC tier 10s, except for, where is she? Alaska. There she is. So yeah, anyways, let's get into it. Gearing. Um, I didn't really do too much thought before this. I just kind of wanted to go off the rip. I think gearing is, as a destroyer at legendary tier, I don't know if it's S. It's definitely A. I mean, I'm gonna put it there for right now. It covers all the bases. It has great DPM, great torpedoes. Pretty concealment's not terrible. It's like 5.5, I think. It's like 100 meters worse than Fletcher. But overall, I'm probably actually gonna keep this here for now, just because it's a really good destroyer for what we have in competition right now. And the Khabarovsk, hopefully this video isn't as long as the as the other ones. So coming up next we have the Khabarovsk. Kaba is, I think it's A. It has it's a ton of fun, and it can really do what it's really designed to do, which is basically just harass other people. You will get into those games though where you are just hard countered to where you're gonna have to play as a DD sometimes. And for a Kaba with its terrible concealment, getting into caps and actually securing the game will be a little bit iffy, but for the most part, Khabarovsk is a ton of fun. It offers a lot of firepower, and it can hard carry pretty respectively. I just think Gearing is a little bit better covering all the bases, because if it is a domination map, Gearing is going to take the cake, capturing the bases, clearing out the other destroyers, but Khabarovsk is really, really good, especially with our commanders in Legends. Colbert, I think, is going to have to go A. Before the Colbert nerf, Colbert was easily S, and it was easily the best ship that we had, um, at least for as a destroyer. If you don't know, the Colbert's base torpedo range got nerfed from 8 kilometers to 6, which really sucks, and you do only get one main battery reload booster stock, so for the most part, unless you're running a cruiser commander or a base commander, you're not going to be getting fully packed to give you an extra charge. So it's a pretty sneaky torpedo boat when you are paying attention and do those surprise attacks. It's very good at that. And with some of the concealment that you can get on the ship, it's actually really good in a lot of regards, catching people off guard. In a 1v1 like scenario, Colbert, hands down, might be one of the best ships in the game, because if you're going up against either one of these destroyers and also Shima, you can use the reload booster, get a quick, easy kill. Other than that, it was just so good before it got nerfed that I feel like it has to be knocked down a peg. Easily S before the nerf, like a couple months ago. I think A is a really respectable spot for Colbert now. It's just harder to make it work. It can't carry every single situation like it used to. Now Shima is, I'm probably going to get some hate for this, but B. B, B, B. Shima is insanely powerful. It is really, really strong. But the only thing that it's strong at is the one thing that it's supposed to do, and that's torpedo boat. It's really a one ship kind of gimmick kind of deal, because I mean, after the torpedoes, like, this is the competition you're facing. And Shima, if it has to put its nose into some situations and try to force a win, these ships are going to be much better suited for that. Shima, it can do its job. It can do a lot of torpedo damage, all that kind of stuff. It can do some great spotting. Overall, though, I think Shima definitely is S tier at damage output and its torpedo power, but overall, as a destroyer, in the meta that we have these days. I think it's a B. Not my favorite kind of ship to play. It's actually my least favorite kind of ship to play, a torpedo uh, destroyer. So a little bit of non-bias towards Shima, but it's insane. All of these ships, for future reference, all the legendary tier ships that we have right now are honestly really strong, and that's the reason why I held off making this video for so long, because everything is a little bit overpowered in its own right. So it's hard to rank these ships because they're so good. Alaska, easily S tier. Just got nerfed a little bit, but it was weird. The dispersion got nerfed, but the shell grouping was improved, or something like that. I actually haven't looked at it too much since then. But Alaska overall, it is really insane. If you know how Alaska was when it first came out, you know, it's been buffed significantly since then. It got an extra heal, it got an improved heal, and it's just an absolute monster. It's had the AP pin increase, it's had the shell grouping increase. Like, it's insane. Alaska, if I was to bet money on a game and I had to play a cruiser and I had to win, I would probably play Alaska or maybe Mino. We'll get to that one in a second. Man, all these ships are really strong. Jeez. Except for one, and I'll get that to in a second. But Alaska is really, really solid. I really think it's a great ship. Colbert. We actually don't know. I thought I would just include this just because it was there, and we just finished playing it in the rental season. So if you don't know, the Colbert somehow got 32 millimeter bow and stern, which means it can bounce 406 armor piercing, which made it a little bit ridiculous. Basically, just think of a fast Atlanta with the ability to battle tank Iowa and other ships like that. Um, I think overall it does its job at what it's supposed to do. It's very spammy. It's very good at collecting witherers, putting fires on ships, farming battleships. But overall, it doesn't have torpedoes, and sometimes it's just going to be in positions to where it needs to carry a game, but it just doesn't have the right tools to carry it out. But overall, it's a really fun ship. I got a little bit bored with it because of how good it was. But I heavily expect that Colbert is going to be getting nerfed. I highly doubt when it comes into the game that it's actually going to get the 32 millimeter balance stern. I don't know. I think it's way too strong. Even the CMs were saying that it's probably going to, like, these values are not final. So what we saw for Colbert is not final. Heading over to Mino, which is my favorite ship to play right now. It's got to be S, guys. It's got to be S. Like, it's very weak to certain ships. It's coated in 16 millimeter plating, so literally everything 234 millimeters and above AP can overmatch it. So I believe that's actually Cheshire. And it was a little iffy because we had the Alaska in the rental season, so there was tons of Alaska over the last month, and Alaska AP easily overmatches Mino as well as the Stalingrad. So that's why you have smoke screens, you have insane concealment, you have 8 torpedoes per side, and you have some of the best AP DPM in the game. It's nuts, man. Like, for me personally, it is probably my highest, like, XP ship across the board, on average. Like, I don't know how, but it just seems to just pull things out of its ass all the time, and it's a ton of fun to play. It is not very beginner friendly, I'll say that, but if you're experienced and you know how to use concealment, smoke screens, how to pick your fights in the best way you can, Mino offers a lot of offensive capabilities as well as some pretty good defensive measures as well. It also has the choice to slap on a radar. Stalingrad, and I think Stalingrad is going to be a pretty easy A pick. It gets pretty limited with what it can do, only having AP. For some reason, Stalingrad came out with only AP in the Legends version, which honestly I don't mind too much because the AP is some of, like, pound for pound, it's some of the best in the game. Like, Stalingrad AP is I know it's not a battleship, but it hits like a battleship and it's more consistent than most battleships in the game. So the joke is that Stalingrad is the best battleship in the game. So and it has insane armor as well. I think the only thing that does hold it back is not having HE. When you do have to deal with destroyers, it can be pretty weak versus them. But overall, easy pick, and I will say Alaska is better. I like playing Stalingrad more because it's more fun to just shoot, you know, Russian lasers at people and the Citadel, everything. But Alaska just has more utility with the HE, the heals, um, all that kind of stuff. So, going up next is the Worcester, and the Worcester went from a solid B to, I think, S. Guys, it's impossible not to put here at S. It has, so Worcester came out with 32mm bow and stern, which is already pretty ridiculous for a USN light cruiser that does well behind islands. So, but it had, I believe, a 5.5-second stock reload. So nowhere anywhere close to the PC 4.6. But recently, it also had 2% less chance of fire than Cleveland, and it had about 100 less damage per HE shell than the Cleveland as well. So for most people, Worcester, and even me, Worcester was a worse Cleveland in almost every regard. It has really good AA. It had that on it, but you never really see carriers at tier 7 anymore. But now, Worcester keeps its armor, the 32mm bow and stern, which means you can bow tank almost you can bow tank a ton of battleships in the game. And they increased the fire chance by 2%, and what else did they do? Oh, they moved the reload down to 4.6. So I've been running around with a 3.4-second reload Worcester with like an 18 or 16% fire chance, and it is disgusting. You have radar, you have good armor, you have extremely good DPM. Pretty much trying to go win a game, everything you need is in Worcester. And also, when you do get into those weird carrier matches, randomly, Worcester and Mino both have insane AA. You don't even have to build into it. It's just stock so good. So when you do get into those carrier matches and you're in one of these two ships, you're just like, cool, free XP, because they can't really do anything to you. Coming up next is the Conqueror. And Conqueror is, I think it's the most consistent battleship at Legendary tier for sure. It's kind of hard to place because S tier, ranking an S tier battleship is hard because battleships get pretty shafted in this game in Legends. But I'm actually gonna throw it at S. It's too good not to. It has access to concealment mod, so you have pretty decent concealment for a Conqueror, which if you load AP, you have good concealment for a ship that can overmatch basically every cruiser in the game, which is really terrifying. And your HE, honestly, we shouldn't even have to mention it. The HE is insane. You have insanely good heals. It's in a good player's hand. Conqueror is pretty busted. It's almost insanely. It's for a good player. It's insanely hard to kill, and every salvo, every 25 seconds or so, it's just going to be mauling you with HE. For a battleship, it's insanely consistent. I would rather play Conqueror than almost any of these other ships, just because I can guarantee that I'll probably have a more consistent experience. And coming up next to, goes to Kurfurst, man. This ship just suffers in Legends. Legends is in a weird spot because it's a faster paced game than PC. The spawns are pushed up, but most of these battleships don't have access to concealment mod. So you're walking around with Kurfurst, I believe, at 15.4 concealment. So most games in Legends, you can get surface spotted before your main battery even reloads. So Kurfurst is a big target. Destroyers have really good concealment in this game. Secondaries are really not that great in this game. They're fun to watch go fly and do anything, but they're fun to watch, but secondaries for the most part don't do too much and are very rarely worth speccing into. And I think Kurfurst just suffers because of how dominant destroyers are and how pushed in this game is. And the amount of HE spam kind of just makes Kurfurst like, why? It's clunky, it's big, the turret angles are terrible. It's a rough ship to play. Like it can be very frustrating because there's so many things that just kind of either shrug you off or just make you just not really that much of a threat, or you're just a big damage pinata, which honestly happens a lot. Montana, I think I'm going to rank at A. Montana is pretty much the good version of Kurfurst in this game because, like I said, secondaries aren't worth too much for the most part. And at the beginning, when Kurfurst came out, you basically just had to play it like a main battery, like fortification, you know. And I think that Montana just does that better, just because it's American AP, it's insane, like heavy broadsides. Montana, like it's going to be one of those ships that will be decent probably throughout the life cycle of the game, just because of how consistent. It's pretty accurate as well. It's just, in my opinion, secondaries aren't really worth too much, so it's just a better gun platform than Kurfurst. That's just my opinion. Moving up to the Yamato. Oof, this is hard actually because Yamato just got nerfed. The the what am I trying to say here? The dispersion on Yamato got nerfed, so it's it's not as accurate as it used to be, and that kind of hurts. And I want to put it at S just because the ability to overmatch anything in the game will never not be insanely powerful. Um, it has good torpedo protection as well. Really good reload for the guns. Honestly, I think Yamato might. I feel like it has to go up as a Conqueror. I mean, sheerly just due to the fact that the 18-inch guns are so good at just punching anything in the mouth, and you have a good reload. It's not as good as it used to be. It used to be a lot more accurate, in my opinion, after they nerfed it just a little bit. But yeah, that's gonna be it. I think this is a pretty good list. We actually have some pretty strong cruisers here. Stalingrad's easily insanely good. Colbert is good as well. It's probably not going to come out like that. But just going off of like consistency wise, these ships are pretty dang strong. Stalingrad situational because if you have someone that knows how to battle tank you, you're kind of not in the best mood. Colbert got nerfed, so you really don't see Colbert that often anymore. It's still really good. It was just it's not as broken. It was broken before. Like it was hands down. Like the CCs agree. Like Colbert was like hands down. Like I want to win this game. I'm going to play Colbert. It was nuts. Kaba is really good at what it does. Shima, it's just a one-trick pony. Not my thing. Kurfurst just kind of gets pooped on by everybody. So, man, flew through that pretty quick. I hope. Not too bad. Anyways, guys, let me know what you think in the comments below. And if you want me to make more of these tier lists, let me know. I'm trying to debate on what I want to do. I'm looking at premium ship lists, but there's honestly a ton of them, so we'll have to look and see like what we can do. But anyways, guys, thank you guys for tuning in, and I will see y'all in the next one. Peace.